Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. And with the UK's exit from the EU today, politics is going to creep more and more into people's conscious lives, whether they want it to or not. And in this video, I'll be bidding a fond farewell to our cousins remaining in the EU, but also hope that they do not ignore the lessons of Brexit for themselves. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, then please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, this video will represent the last one that I'll be publishing as a citizen of the EU. Tomorrow, my rights are lessened, and my embarrassment at the behaviour of those we have allowed to represent us will increase. Boris Johnson and his cabinet of miscreants promise that we will move forwards in friendship with our European neighbours. I hope he means it, but whether he does or he does not, I do hope that those outside of the UK recognise that unfriendly actions will not represent the majority of us, though it will sadly reflect a far larger minority than I am comfortable with. So, although my country is now buggered, I will retain hopes and even expectations that we will be back in some form or other. Sooner is better than later, but we will be back at some point. In the meantime, I hope you all remain strong, and that won't be as easy as some will think. I would like people to consider what happened in both the UK and the US in 2016. If you, like me, think that this was to the disadvantage of those respective nations, then also consider that those two apparently very different campaigns, the Brexit referendum in the UK and the presidential election in the US, all had exactly the same players involved and all on exactly the same side. The subsequent investigations in the US have been rather more thorough than in the UK, where a corrupt government has more centralised power to block such moves than the president does in the US. But one thing has been clear throughout: the involvement of these same groups and these same people in both campaigns. And they seem to fall into two distinct camps, which could be said to be characterised by Putin in one and Bannon in the other. Vladimir Putin represents a country that is not part of the West. As such, you will argue that his moves to destabilise the West do not represent betrayals as such, but they are still very damaging to us in the West, and if you believe broadly in Western values, then you will also believe for the world in general. But regardless of motivations, and regardless of how you judge those motivations, Putin does want to weaken the West in order to enhance his own influence. And he has enhanced his own influence around the world dramatically in the last few years, especially as a result of his manipulation of President Trump. But there are also identical links with the Brexit campaign as well. Both Trump and Brexit have weakened the West, and it is folly to believe that it'll stop there. The West has not fallen, and there is more damage that may yet be done. Then there's Bannon. He is part of the West and identifies as such. Yes, he has a warped view of what Western values are, but the ones he believes in, he wants to make stronger. He is, however, opposed to more prevalent liberal Western values, and the least said about his views of socialism, the better. So he wants to tear down Western civilization in the belief that he can rebuild it in his image. So the aim is the same. He wishes to attack the West, even if his end game looks different to Putin's. He was also instrumental in advising those involved in both the Trump and Brexit campaigns, and once he was persona non grata in America, he came to Europe, not to the UK, to continental Europe. He began work on an organisation designed to weaken ties in Europe. He's gone a little quiet lately, since he's been chased out of his Italian monastery, but he's still about. He too doesn't see Trump and Brexit as the boundaries of his ambition. So both of these factions that Putin and Bannon represent want to see nothing less than a seismic change in the world order. Now, although I'm sure they're not going to release their pressure on the situation in the UK or the US, I think they will largely see those projects as essentially done. Their methods have been proven to work, and they will work wherever they are used. The worst thing that the people of Europe can do is to imagine that their systems are somehow resilient to it. The methods used to, they involved data gathering on a massive scale on voting citizens from social media. Does your country use social media a lot? Then you're vulnerable. It involves correctly identifying those whose minds are malleable. This has been proven to work time and time again. And bear in mind that these methods have been used in other countries. It's not just the UK and the US. And they've been used very, very successfully on a consistent basis. It then involves a shady campaign of misinformation to change voters' behaviours in public polls. The problem with social media, of course, is it's very easy to get sucked into an echo chamber. If you get your information, from a news station or just talking to people at work or something like that, you may naturally congregate towards those who feed your idea of the way you want the world to be, but you will still be hit every now and then with counter views. That is not necessarily the case on social media, and it can be very easily manipulated to make you think that a particular viewpoint is coming across from lots of very different organisations from lots of different places that are actually all the same, but you think they're different ones, and that reinforces in your own mind the universal truth of what's been told to you, when in actual fact it's a lie. So just as it's important for those of us in the UK and the US to fight back against the damage already done by these people and groups, and to try and reverse some of it where possible, so too it's very important for our friends elsewhere to be mindful of what has happened and not to allow further damage to be caused by the next assault, wherever it may be directed. So I'll leave it there. I wish everyone well, and my last video to be published as a member of the EU. Hope you found it interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button, and if you'd like to support the channel further, then please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.